My earliest memories would be when I was 4 years old or 5 years old. I grew up on the farm, and I guess that's one of the things that I cherish is the memories. And I lived on a farm and grew up on a farm and went out and rode the tractor with my dad and all this kind of thing. The things that a typical farm boy would do.
I guess maybe my first memory, Mother and I lived with her mother and Daddy while Daddy was gone, and I remember sitting in a wash pan and grabbing my toe and saying, "My daddy's in Toto Pan." So we were on a farm then, and that was the way I remember where he was, because I could remember pulling on my big toe and sitting in that pan.
We had cotton right by the house, and they were picking cotton, and I wanted to make me some money, so I got a pillowcase, and I would fill it full of cotton, and then I made them weigh it, and then I had to be paid right then, even if it wasn't but a nickel.
My dream in life at that point was to be the champion cotton picker in the Mississippi County Cotton Picking Contest. I love to work, and most people thought I was crazy, but I love to pick cotton by hand.
This farm has been in our family for over 120 years. So my grandparents migrated to this community back in the early 1870s. And so I just grew up with it.
My father was on the local County Farm Bureau board. He was a successful farmer, and they picked him to be on the local board, provided leadership. And I remember him going to county board meetings when I was young. He'd actually have to leave the farm early to go to a board meeting, and to my knowledge, that was the only outside activity my father was ever involved in. He was really not that active in the church. He was active in VFW because he was a veteran of World War II. But as far as other service or community charitable organizations, he was not active. But the Farm Bureau Board was very important to him, and that really drove home to me a point that, if my dad thinks this much of Farm Bureau, it must be a pretty good organization that's worthwhile, because he didn't spend much time with organizations that weren't going anywhere.
My first contact with Farm Bureau was at a country store located about a mile from here, a grocery store and a cotton gin. That was the central part of the city of Rimmel. And I walked in that store one time, and the store belonged to our county judge. And he said to me, he was standing behind the counter. He didn't work there, but he happened to be there. And he said, "You need to join Farm Bureau." I said, "Well, I've heard about it, but how much does it cost?" He said, $2.50. I said, "Well, I think I could stand that."
I had tried 2 or 3 different kinds of health insurance, and they didn't work out at all to our satisfaction. And someone told me that Farm Bureau has Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so I went, I found out who the person was. It was a lady that worked in a store, and she would sell you Farm Bureau Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance if you'd pay that $5 membership fee.
I guess my first recollections of Arkansas Farm Bureau came on a trip that we made, Rosella and I made, with Mr. Romie Short.
From the time that I could remember, my dad and one of his friends named Roy Weiss were on the County Farm Bureau Board. And it wasn't, I don't remember, I was probably still in high school. And Daddy was on the building committee, and Nicky Hargrove was on the committee. And I remember one afternoon, Daddy and I came over and we sat down with Nicky on one of his land levelers out there in old Southern Land Plain, and he and Daddy talked about the need for building a new office building in Stuttgart. And I guess maybe that was the first time that I realized that Farm Bureau was more than just where you bought your insurance.
Well, I think the single thing that we did was to develop the commodity divisions. We had the cotton division when I became president, but we added poultry and beef cattle and soybeans and rice, the swine division. And the reason I thought this was so helpful, it spoke directly to what the membership, the farm membership, was doing at home.
The importance of staff was, I think, it was obvious. If we wanted to be a spokesman for agriculture, we had to have very professional staff, and had to have people that were tops in their field. And we attempted to do this.
I remember when I first went to conventions, we were in our membership, family membership was in the 50,000. When I became president, I think it was like 120,000. 13 years later, we'd had an increased membership every year, and it was like 210 or 15,000. We had about a 90,000 family membership over 13 years, and I'm very proud of that. I feel like that I had a part to play in it. And with those numbers, we became, instead of the little puppy dog that was trying to wag its tail and get attention, we became that gorilla that says, hey, we're here and we're in numbers sufficient that you need to take note of us. And they did.
There was a real need for us to have more expertise in the environmental areas, and under my leadership, and because we had policy that was passed, which we implemented, we started an environmental section within Farm Bureau. We had hired an environmental specialist, and we had a permanent environmental committee that dealt with the water quality, environmental issues, and I think it's given us a lot more credibility in the scientific community, helping us to plug in, to be involved in all aspects of environmental issues in the state.
That was one of the most rewarding things to me when I was in Farm Bureau, was somebody come to me with a problem that I could help them with. And it didn't have to be an agricultural problem or a Farm Bureau problem, but if I could make a phone call and make something go smoother for them, or if they just shared a problem with me and I had an opportunity at some time in the future that they didn't know anything about, that's what I liked the best, to help them with that problem.
We can't depend on people at the state level, the national level, Farm Bureau elected leaders to do the work. Farm Bureau has always been based on grassroots contacts and grassroots leadership. And without that leadership at the local level, the involvement at the local level, at the local board level, the local membership level, we're not going to be effective. We are a bottoms-up organization, we're not a top-down. So for us to continue to be effective as we have, we've got to energize our membership at the grassroots level, at the county level, to be involved, to write letters to their congressmen, to their state representatives, their state senators, be involved with Farm Bureau Act and other contact programs that we have so that we can have direct access to our elected officials.
I think his role in the future will be just exactly what it's always been. I mean, the time frame will be different. I think we have the organization, I think, that will move into and meet the challenges of the future. They'll be different. They won't be the same as they were 50, 75, or 100 years ago, but they'll be more critical to the farmers themselves and more critical to society, our contribution to society.
Its history, its growth, and its influence has been fantastic over the 70 years, and it has been a constant increasing influence. And I can't see any limit for the need for the organization. We actually have less and less farmers, but we don't have less and less farming.
My little brother had a toy when I was growing up, and it was a little rocking kind of toy, about 6 inches tall, and had sand in the bottom of it. And no matter what you did to that toy, you could slap it around or whatever you wanted to do, you could knock it over, but it just popped right back up. That's where Farm Bureau has been. That's the reason Farm Bureau is successful. It might take a lick every once in a while, but it pops right back up and continues serving the people that it was designed to serve 75 years ago, and that's the membership.
But the future will depend upon the leadership. As long as you send the proper people with the proper motivation and the desires to not be for themselves but for the organization, as long as those kind of people are in leadership, you'll have a wonderful organization. But if it ever gets down to politics and to those things of serving self rather than the organization, it'll go as all other organizations always have. And I hope that'll never happen.